And we back on today's episode. Finally, Carl Powers can stop sweating his nuts off, whip out his dick and rejoice because Aaron Rodgers is officially a New York football Jet who should be in reality the New Jersey Jets, but that's a different show.
We've done that show before.
And we've done that show before, and we're not going to do it again, but we might because the dog days of sports summer are coming in. We probably are going to have to recycle some content. Just spoiler alert.
Why not?
White excellent giraffe next. It's like, yeah, NBA, NHL playoffs. We are going to talk about who has been the best player in the respective playoffs. There can only be one. There have been some great individual performances, so we will try to give our playoff MVP, if you will. And then I will finish it up with a game of fair or foul. And spoiler alert, Kawhi Leonard's career should be over, period.
Sports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports, presented by the mighty Give Us a Shot Network. Dwayne Marcus from Goat Talk with Marcus is here. Bert is here, and I am here. And gentlemen, speaking of Kawhi Leonard, did you guys see JJ Redick put up a triple-double on First Take this morning?
No.
Versus Stephen A. Smith and Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Is ridiculous. Mad Dog Russo is just as ridiculous. And JJ Redick put them in their place, as he should have, because to insinuate, or to not even insinuate, to say what Stephen A. said, to flat out get on national television this morning, for Stephen A. to say Steve Ballmer and the Clippers should force Kawhi to retire is absurd. And JJ Redick, in the most respectful way possible, basically told them that they have no idea what they're talking about. It was beautiful. I enjoyed every second.
So not only that, it was the way he did it. He let them bloviate for about 5 to 10 minutes about Kawhi Leonard. And he came in with the subtle ether, Bert. Said, gentlemen, respect everything you've done for the game. But check this out, you fucking idiots. I'm paraphrasing. But it was the tone.
It does sound like JJ. It does.
Yeah. So, but you can tell, right? Like, you know, when like somebody's trying to be nice about something, but really telling you to fuck off. Like, that's JJ really is sick of everybody's shit on that desk. And he said, guys, I can tell that you have not played a minute of real life, high level competitive basketball, because what you said is utterly ridiculous. And went on to basically a tangent of saying it was a eloquent, you've never played the game, so how can you tell a player how to feel type deal, which generally I'm not a fan of. You've never played the game, because there's been a lot of great coaches and great, executives who've never played the game that are all-time greats, so or at least at a high level, right? I've never played sports at a high level and are excellent at what they do. So Mina Kimes has never played NFL football last I checked. And she's one of the best football analysts I've ever heard. So I don't think you have to be able to play the game to understand it or know about it or be knowledgeable. But I think we're all in agreement that Stephen A. goes on that television every day and just talks mad shit. And it's about time.
It's what he's paid.
It is.
Yeah.
Max Kellerman took a lot of heat on that show for basically telling Stephen A. Smith how it is. Max Kellerman's too smart for that show, and that's why Stephen A. wanted him gone. Skip Bayless was able to out Stephen A., which is why Skip Bayless is now gone. And so now you have Chris Mad Dog Russo, who's a bigger doof than Stephen A. is. They bring on Michael Irvin during football season. They just bring on these guests. I know when Stephen A. Smith looks at like the guest sheet and sees JJ Redick's name, he starts sweating bullets.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's been a consistent, almost every time JJ Redick's on that show, he's shitting on Stephen A. in some form or fashion off of one of his ridiculous takes. And I, for one, gentlemen, enjoy it. Speaking of ridiculous takes,
I'm not buying Mark Price. I'm not buying Mark Jackson. It's right. I just told you, like, Mark Price was a first-team All-NBA player at one point in the 90s. In what year, in the 2000s to 2023, right today, is Mark Price getting a first-team NBA for a point guard? Never. It's never happening.
Dwayne Marcus, because you are a resident young person, I wanted to come out here and say this in the nicest way possible. I do not know who this gentleman is. He has a sports podcast. He does not deserve for us to even. I'm surprised. I'm mad at myself for showing his face on here. I'm not going to plug him, but that take that came across my timeline today is utterly ridiculous, and I've officially reached old man status. If you are born in the year 2000s, shut the fuck up when it comes to matters of basketball before you were born. If you don't know basketball before LeBron James, don't tell me what a player before you were even alive to watch them is able or not able to do. How the fuck do you know Mark Price couldn't? You know how many 40-point games Mark Price has in the NBA? Do you know how many fucking times he's given Jordan 40? You know how great Mark Price is, a shooter he is? Enough. Dwayne Marcus, defend it. Defend your boy. Even though he's not really your boy, but I'm going to call him your boy because I'm mad at young people.
There's really no way to defend it because I've watched games that Mark Price has played back, like when NBA TV over the summer does like those marquee matchups and things like that, and I've enjoyed them. The only reason I can think that you could make that argument is, and I don't agree with it, but the reason I can think of someone to say that would be when you look at the level of excellence we've seen from sustained excellence we've seen at a high level from certain players at the position. That's the only thing I can think of. And even then, like, Mark Price wasn't a scrub. Like, Mark Price was excellent, from what I can tell. I mean, unless you're gonna unless you're basing it off of the fact that, like, unless you're saying that you don't think that Mark Price could perform at an elite level the way that Steph Curry has, the way that Russell Westbrook has at one point, the way that Kyrie Irving has before all this stuff happened with him, the way that, like, the Nashes and the kids of the world did. But, like, even then, like, he would be in that upper echelon with them because, like I said, from what I've seen, there's no reason for me to think that Mark Price can't be productive as a point guard in the NBA today, or to be first team All NBA. I don't think that's if we are having an argument about eras, if you are taking those guys back then and putting them in today's era, when you're right, and the first thing that all OGs would say is, oh, well, there's no hand checking. Well, there's not. So you would have to think that all of those guys back then that had to deal with hand checking, had to deal with defenses that were team defenses specifically, that were much more physical and much more intense than the team defenses are in today's era, you'd have to think that those players would be able to perform at a higher level in this era because of the emphasis on making sure that offenses flow and the pace of the game and the amount of possessions we have per game. Like, the game now is quite fast paced, and it's not as fast paced as like in the 60s, but it's still a very fast paced game. It's absurd, especially if you haven't actually sat down and watched Mark Price play basketball for an extended period of time. It would be, or anyone, Mark Price is an example, like, or anyone for that sense matter. Like, it's absurd. You cannot make definitive statements like that because you didn't actually see him perform specifically in his prime. You can say you don't think he would, but to say definitively it would never happen without having seen Mark Price play basketball, especially in his prime, that's just a statement that you can never make. Like, you just can't. That's too definitive of a statement to make.
He's a member of the 50-40-90 club. He's a 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA player. He only played 9 seasons. Injuries cost him his career. He's one of the best playmakers I've ever seen play. And honestly, if it wasn't for Jordan, he might have had a ring, right? It took we don't take anything away from Hakeem Olajuwon. It took Jordan retiring, aka secret suspension for gambling. That also got his father killed. That's another show. For Mark Price was a part of one of the greatest teams we've ever. That Cavs team was amazing. It's just Jordan had a better team, and Jordan's Jordan. And so when you're a victim of time, I'm not going to hold that against you. Again, doofus, idiot, stupid young podcaster guy would know that if he actually watched the fucking games, but he didn't. And which is even more egregious because, Bert, we had to watch it live. We had to watch it. We had to bang on the top of the TV and figure out, where to point the antenna. This kid can go on YouTube and look up Mark Price games. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He wasn't even alive when NBA. You remember ESPN Classic? I mean, you could have watched ESPN Classic He's probably too young for that. That probably went away before he was born. I don't know.
That definitely went away before. I'm trying to think when the last time I even remember that being a thing. It had to have been before he was born. Yeah,
it had to be. It's if that
ESPN Classic. And
you said what?
I don't remember ESPN Classic.
Yeah.
There it is.
So
it's confirmation right there.
It was funny. There was a weird era where all the network, like sports networks, had a classic, also like a secondary. Like Fox Sports has like FS8 now. Like there's always like these subdivisions of theirs. ESPN had a classic. NBA TV, NBA had classic. NFL had a classic channel for a long time. I have
fond memories of watching Hardwood Classics on.
Hardwood Classics was the NBA classic.
Yeah, I have a lot of memories of sitting down and watching Hardwood Classic.
Yeah. But then they realized, wow, we don't have a lot of programming to go on during the off season, so we might as well not have its own dedicated channel and just air the classic games as part of our network programming. But I wanted to talk about that because ageism just hit me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Kids, hey, just say you're not down. You're not down with older players, and that's cool. Sports PSP, what's up, man? Check out his content. He always comes and checks us out, so we like to support the people that support us. Should Dillon Brooks be suspended for Game 4 like Draymond was for Game 3? Dillon Brooks should be suspended for life just for being Dillon Brooks.
I was like, here we go. I mean, we may as well just jump into that. That was a topic.
That was one of the questions. Yeah, let's do fair or foul now. Fair or foul, gentlemen. Is Dillon Brooks the most annoying player in sports?
Man, I don't even know basketball, and he's already annoying me. I just view him as a clout chaser, a nobody. Like, why are you going to stand up here and talk this shit to some of the greatest in the game and do nothing? Like, it's annoying to me. But that's my take as a non-basketball person. So
he's not the most annoying to me because I think that Karl Anthony Towns is the most annoying player in basketball. He's also the corniest. The things that Cat does on a consistent basis, it's just some of the corniest things you ever see. But he's up there
for not being good. Cat's not even good. Like this whole narrative that Cat is like, they tried to make him out to be something. He's not good. He's a perennial loser, and he plays
sitting at home again, right where he's
sitting at home. He's a bum. Dillon Brooks, in all seriousness, again, this is ageism. This is exactly what's wrong with this country. Dillon Brooks. When I was coming up in the game, when me and Bert were making our bones in the streets of New Jersey, you had to earn the right to talk shit. A guy like Dillon Brooks would never exist in our era because the OGs would check him. But this is what happens when you give everybody freedom. This ridiculous notion that everybody's feelings matter. Everybody has the right to say something. Bullshit. The continued pussification of America at work. Thanks a lot. You know whose fault this is, Bert? I'll tell you.
Liberal media.
There it is.
You dumb motherfuckers giving Dillon Brooks the fucking time of day, putting cameras in his face after every game. It'd be one thing.
Marcus, your generation has got Jerm on one right now. The amount of F-bombs and cursing, we know we can't cut this up. This can't be used anywhere else. This can't be used on Divide or anything. No, hey, listen, I like it. Let's keep it going. We know it's a cursing show from this point forward. Let's go. But man,
sorry, Mike. Sorry, Sean Brace.
The young people got Jerm
on young, right now. Dumb bitches. I hate all of you. Let me tell you, Dillon Brooks would never. I mean, am I lying? Would Dillon Brooks exist in the early 2000s, in the 90s? A guy like him, a scrub, a bona fide scrub. If you have to be Rodman, right, is one of those antagonizer guys, right?
Yeah, but
and that's my thing about. And Draymond gets away with it because he has championships, but Draymond isn't really that good to be talking the shit he's talking either. He is great value choice Dennis Rodman. And I would much rather have Dennis Rodman. If Draymond is store brand Dennis Rodman, Dillon Brooks, you are dollar store Dennis Rodman. You are consignment store, thrift store Dennis Rodman. Wow. If anything, you're a fucking bum. And you should not be allowed to talk basketball. But again, the age of social media, the age of everybody's feelings matter. Oh, well, take everybody's feelings into consideration. Fuck that, dog. Yo, let me tell you, every time they put a camera in his face, I get annoyed because, again, I could tolerate it if you were good. Help your team. Stop talking shit to, of all people, LeBron James, but then say, I don't respect nobody till they give me 40. Who the fuck are you? Oh, I'll just make them go left. Well, by the way, to hit that game-winning shot, LeBron went, you guessed it, left, you dumb bitch. And so I get so sick of these guys coming. Sports PSP says, I think Dylan is annoying as hell. Dylan and the Grizzlies talk way too much. Yeah, Demetrius, he's on his way back to Cranbrook. That idiot too. Hey, Demetrius Morant, you fucking poser. Get your ass back over to the right side of the tracks, your suburban neighborhood, as you sit there with your water gun in the club trying to flex on people on Instagram. You put your Monopoly money away at the strip club. It's your C-Shift strip club you were at in Memphis. Fucking loser. So sick of these guys. I'm so sick of this generation. Don't know who Mark Price is. Fucking Grizzlies doing this fucking stupid TikTok dance on the way to the court instead of being focused. Hey, you put as much effort into playing basketball as you do to your fucking walkout songs, you probably win some more games out here in the streets. But and then people would respect y'all. But no, people don't respect you. All right, I'm sorry. That was rude.
That was great.
Yeah.
Look for that on Instagram tomorrow.
Fuck Dylan Brooks. We'll get to fair or foul. We'll finish the show up with that. But the big news, the big sports news of the day, Aaron Rodgers, big time, walking into the Jets facility today. Not unlike Jamal Adams, didn't even need to type in the code. They rolled out the red carpet for him.
Yeah.
They opened the door. They had a guy at the door waiting for him. The entire coaching staff's in the lobby.
Yep.
Robert Saleh finally happy because they don't have Zach Wilson to worry about. So give me your overarching thoughts, or your thoughts in general on Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
Jet fans rejoice when I tell you this is a relaxed, re-energized Aaron Rodgers that I saw walking into the training facility today. And when I say, Jet fans, that I am 1,000% confident that the AFC will see a Jets team only win 8 games this season because it's Aaron Rodgers. And not for nothing, you can give me the 4 MVPs. You can give me the 1 Super Bowl. It's Aaron Rodgers trying to breathe life in a new career for himself with the New York Jets. Now, with that being said, I'm not just saying this because I want to hate. And you know I love doing that, particularly to K-Pow's favorite team. But taking a look at their schedule, 8 wins is realistic for them. And that's me having them beat the Pats twice throughout the regular season. You figure best case scenario, they split with the Bills and the Dolphins. They'll take Commanders, Denver, Houston. I'll give them Atlanta too. Oakland, I think, takes the win. And honestly, when you're going up against Kansas City, the Chargers, you do play the NFC East. I'm not going to pick the Giants. Are you kidding me? And I don't think you're beating the Cowboys. So, look, for me, I think 8 wins is realistic for the Jets. Jet fans out there have them going to the Super Bowl, which they could, but this is a very tough schedule for them. Now, granted, I understand defense is sound, and now you have Aaron Rodgers, and he's got weapons, and you have the Jets, but not for nothing. This isn't a walk in the park for them. So I'm going to stick by my, it's great to see Aaron Rodgers. I do appreciate the fact that he turned down Namath's offer to unretire the 12 so he can wear it. I think that's very respectful, classy guy. But at the end of the day, this is what I'm looking at for the Jets. 8 wins, and I'll be smiling come January, knowing that I've been talking this shit for quite some time, and it's going to come true.
Dwayne?
As long as he plays 65% of the snaps this year, I don't care how many wins they have. That's all I care about.
That's right. That's our cream baby boy. Let's go. Yeah,
that's all I need. So let's be honest here.
Well, for the people who don't know, as a Packers fan, what would happen if he plays 65% of the snaps? How is that beneficial for a Packers? Talk to the Packers people a lot of them that I see are kind of upset that Rodgers is I think the realization has set across them. I know there's a large like you who are just tired of the Aaron Rodgers thing. And I know a lot of people are saying, grass may be not greener. I know our jerseys are green, but doesn't mean the grass is. And Aaron Rodgers, top 5 quarterback all time. It's hard to watch that walk out the door. So 65% of the snaps, what solace can Packers fans take from that?
Oh, boy. So when you look at the package, we traded up from 15 to 13 this year, which isn't really that big of a move unless we're talking about the Packers potentially wanting to trade into the top 10. Then, of course, it's much easier to look at a team like Philly, for example, who's at 10 and convince them to go from 10 to 13, then 10 to 15, because 5 spots in a draft might not seem like a lot numerically, but talent-wise, that could be a lot. There's a big difference between 10 to 15. So getting up to 13 would help if the Packers were looking to trade up into the top 10. We've got a second-round pick, another second-round pick this year, a sixth-round pick. But the big part for me, and I think the big part for a lot of Packers fans, is the 2024 conditional second-round pick. And the condition is if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps, which we'll know by week 9 or 10 if he's on pace for that, that pick becomes a first-round pick instead of a second-round pick. Now, are the Jets going to be a playoff team? Probably. So it's not going to be a high. It's not going to be a high first-round pick. It's going to be a mid-first-round pick. But you want as much talent as possible, as much draft capital as possible, because we're going to pick up Jordan Love's fifth-year option. We have to, because this would be his first year actually starting. It's his fourth year in the league. We have to pick up his fifth-year option. It'll buy us at least one more year to figure out what to do at the quarterback position, whether or not he's the guy to do it or not. But like when you think about it, we're not at all in a bad spot. Like when you look at the talent that we have around Jordan Love, there is a lot of youth on the team. There are a lot of OGs on the team, but there's still a lot of youth on the team. When you look at what Christian Watson, what Romeo Doubs did last year, they were dealing with an injury, but they both played really well. Christian Watson came into his own in the back half of the season. Aaron Jones is still there. We definitely need to find a tight end this year because Robert Tonyan's not there anymore. He's gone to Chicago. We still have one of the better, when healthy, one of the better O-lines in football, but we have a health problem. We have also one of the more flexible O-lines in football as it pertains to we've drafted a couple of guards and tackles over the past couple of years that can play multiple positions throughout the O-line, which has been beneficial because D-Block has been out dealing with knee injuries over the course of the past couple seasons. The defense still leaves a lot to be desired, especially in the secondary. But again, like Brian Gutekunst, he's never nailed a draft, unfortunately. Like he is yet to nail a draft from top to bottom, but he's gotten close a couple of times. He's in a great position where he doesn't have a veteran quarterback in his ear telling him what to do. He can just go out there and draft as if he's building a team. This will be our first year seeing what the actual Matt LaFleur offense looks like, because for the past 4 years, it's been the Matt and Aaron Rodgers offense, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This will be the first time we get to see the actual Matt LaFleur offense run. And from the bits and pieces that we've seen in the games that Jordan Love has played, both in the second half of the game against the Eagles last season and then in the game against the Chiefs 2 years ago when Rodgers didn't play because he was out because of COVID, the Matt LaFleur offense looks good and Jordan Love looks comfortable in it. So there's a lot to be hopeful for, right? Like it's not like we're going to be one of the worst teams in football the next couple of years. We have what I like to call a soft rebuild, which, as Jerm knows, I don't love soft rebuilds all that much. But we're definitely in a position. Yeah, hard ones all the time. But we're in a position within the next 2 or 3 years where we could be back in the playoffs. This is still a good football team. As I was saying the other night, I was on Instagram Live with one of my Packers friends, and we were talking. And I said, I just want us to get it right. Like whatever right looks like this year, I just want us to get it right. Whether that means drafting JSN or trading up to get JSN or drafting a tight end or drafting edge, like whatever that looks like, I just want us to get it right. This is the first time that this administration of the Packers gets a chance to do what they want to do without having to worry about whether or not it's going to please Aaron Rodgers, which I think, again, as a fan, it is bittersweet to see him leave because he has brought us a Super Bowl. He's brought us a lot of chances. He's brought us a lot of competitive season. I was going to say chances to win Super Bowls, but he hasn't. But he's kept us competitive and he's kept us relevant for the past 18 years. And that is something to be thankful for. Jordan Love is not going to come in here and fill those shoes. He's not. Those are very, very, very big shoes to fill. That's not what's going to happen. I think those expectations have to go out the window. We'll see Jordan Love for 2 years, and then I won't be really nervous until after I see Jordan Love play a full season of football. If Jordan Love doesn't look like how Matt LaFleur and Aaron Jones in the front office has said he's been looking in training camps and in practice and things, I'm going to be really nervous because, as we all know, and you especially, Bert, being a Giants fan, finding a franchise quarterback is very, very, it's a very hard thing to do. And you have to that if you don't have a franchise quarterback, it doesn't matter who's on the line on either side, doesn't matter who your safeties, who your tight ends, who your receivers are. If you don't have a guy that can get the job done under center, you might as well just not be playing football because it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. That is the one thing that I'm nervous about. But other than that, there's a lot to be grateful for both Aaron leaving because of what he's done, but also what him leaving means for us as far as we can finally see the Packers run the way that the front office and Matt LaFleur wants the Packers to run. And I'm nervous, but I'm also very excited to see what that looks like. But we're not going to make the playoffs this year. Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah.
Well, you know the old saying of, you know, if you can't find a franchise quarterback, get a mediocre one, then pay him $40 million a year for the next 3 years. I think that's how it goes. But Jerm, what are your thoughts?
I just love that Aaron Rodgers feel like he got a haircut. He took a shower.
He looks refreshed, doesn't he?
He looks refreshed. He does. He doesn't look like he's into any witchcraft or anything crazy like that. He's had in the last couple of years in Green Bay. I know there's not a lot to do out there, and Green Bay, Wisconsin. But
there's not a lot to do there in Green Bay.
I love the quote about how he knows that Zach Wilson's going to make his life hell in practice, but he's going to make Zach's life heaven off the field, or he said something to that extent. Yeah. I mean, again, what is he supposed? He's supposed to go in there and look ragged and tired and say, "Hey guys, whatever, I'm gonna give it my best shot." Of course, I mean, it looks nice now.
Sure.
However,
this is him not facing any challenges or adversity, right? Like, yeah.
Of course, it looks good. You break up with your longtime girlfriend, you get with a new chick. She's 1,000 times better than your old girl because she's not your old girl. You know what I'm saying? New York chick. Yeah. I told you, Bert. There's 1,000 Olivia Munns out there. I don't know what he's gonna do. He better stay in the practice facility.
Yeah.
Couldn't even handle one Olivia Munn. And what makes you think he's gonna handle New York City? It's Aaron. He sounds like he's in it for the long haul, but as history tells us with Aaron Rodgers, we can't take anything he says seriously. I don't know what he means. I don't know. He's creeping towards Kyrie Irving territory, where he talks all this good stuff, but then Tuesday shows up and he's like, I got to go sit in a dark room for 5 days and meditate on life. My chakra's off or some shit. And here we go. It's a new team, new situation. Honeymoon phase is always great, no matter who you're with. And we got to wait till the games start. Again, the super teams rarely work out in the NFL. Worked out for the Bucks, but you saw how quickly that faded away. Yes, they got a Super Bowl out of it, but I mean, that team's in shambles now. And that was a quick turnaround. You know what I mean? That was a quick 2 or 3, 3 years or so, or however long it was. And so the window is now for them. He's
going to be able to. It certainly is. Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do.
But they have such a like I said before, they have such a tough schedule, and it's not to say that the AFC East isn't a cakewalk division. Like it's not the days of old with the Belichick Brady Patriots steamrolling everybody else, and for a fact that you can count on them taking at least 6-7 games from their own division, right? Like, granted, the Jets roster, when you look at it on paper, is stacked, and you hope they gel quickly in camp and they get off to a good start. But aside from their division, which has the likes of, a really solid Dolphin team, I know they have Tua, but all things considered, I don't see the Jets taking both games from the Dolphins. I don't see them taking both from the Bills too with Josh Allen. And honestly, the way it should go, and Jerm, you'll love this, way it should go is that'll be a really competitive game, but the Bills having the experience and having that grouping together for so long, the Bills take 2 from the Jets. But you did drop against the Jets team last year, so I had them splitting regardless. So you hope, but then, when you look at it, in the fact you got to play Kansas City this year, and then honestly, an NFC East division, which last year shocked the world, and you see if they're going to replicate again and be tough, and you know how much the Giants love beating up on Aaron Rodgers too, no matter if they're stateside or in London. So it's going to be a tough road for them. So you mentioned before, let's see how the games get on, and then let's see what Aaron Rodgers' attitude is if they do reach setbacks, if he's got to come out and say, relax, or if he's going to do his darkroom shit again and start complaining like he did with the last franchise. So we'll see, but it's going to be tough for him,
There's 7 teams that make it to the playoffs every year. I just sat down here and I wrote all the teams I think are going to be playoff teams in the AFC next year. The Jets aren't on that list. They're not. The Bills.
Oh, hold on. We'll get to that list in a second. I just wanted to shout out to the Talking Balls podcast. We just followed each other. So shout out to Chris, Dave, Neil, and Chrissy, the 3 guys, and the lovely young lady. They get in there and they talk really good sports stuff. I believe I can't remember. I don't want to disrespect them. One of them's a Jets fan, if not all of them. But,
I'm assuming the one who's commenting right now.
Yeah, but I can't remember who runs the.
Gotcha.
Runs that account, but. The Jets fans should be happy. They should be. I know
there's no reason not to be. This only adds more value to the team in itself. But
my Bills are still the best team in the AFC East. Go ahead, Dwayne. Let me hear that list.
So the Jaguars are a shoo-in because they play in the worst division in football. Well, the NFC South is the worst division in football, but the South sucks altogether. Jaguars don't really count. They're going to win the division, so they're in the playoffs. I think the Bills are a playoff team. Obviously, the Chiefs don't miss the playoffs, so they're going to be a playoff team. The Bengals will be a playoff team next year. And then you're talking about like all the other teams that have question marks. When you look at the Dolphins, for example, right? When Tua played football, the Dolphins were one of the best teams in football. They were winning games. I think when Tua played before the third concussion, when things just fell off the rails, they had only lost one game, and the one game they had lost was the game against Cincinnati when he got the second concussion and was carted off the field. The Dolphins, I think, are still going to be a good football team this year. They've added Jalen Ramsey. And say what you want about Jalen Ramsey, he's still one of the better cornerbacks in football. And adding that experience to that defense is good. I think the Dolphins are a playoff team. The Chargers, say what you want about the Chargers, say what you want about Justin Herbert, like they'll figure it out. They're always in the mix at the end. And even if they don't make the playoffs, they'll be in the mix. If the Ravens keep Lamar Jackson and he stays healthy, they'll be a playoff team because when Lamar Jackson's healthy and plays a full season, they make the playoffs. So like, and then you have the Broncos, who are expected to be much better this year than they were last year. Will they make the playoffs this year? I don't know. They probably won't, but they'll still be in that log jam with the Jets towards the end of the season. Like this is a couple years ago, the Dolphins missed the playoffs. They went 10-6. That's because there were like 7 teams in the AFC that year that had won 10 games, and they didn't have the tiebreaker over the Browns, who were the 6th seed. Now there's an extra game, but I can still see every team I've listed on here, except for maybe the Jaguars, but it's still possible. Every team I've listed has potential to win at least 10 games. That makes things really, really tough to get in. And I know the Jets have a bunch of talent, and they've done a lot of improvements, but as a Packers fan, I know that the closer it gets to playoff time and the more eyes there are on Aaron Rodgers and he's in playoff-like situations in the regular season, doesn't always work out. Look no further than this regular season finale last season against the Lions at home.
Yeah.
A silver platter. Win the game, you're in the playoffs, and we lost. So
at Lambeau.
So you guys are right. There is a lot to be happy if you're a Jets fan because Aaron Rodgers, whether it's a year or two, is the best quarterback the Jets have seen in a very, very, very long time because it's been a steaming pile of dog doo-doo under center for a very long time, for all of my lifetime and some. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a playoff team. Aaron Rodgers is not a needle mover. He's not a needle mover at this point in his career, and that's the reality.
Shout out to Neil, who is the Jets fan on the Talking Balls podcast. Also, the one with the best beard on the show. I said it. Distinguished gentleman. I should have known better. My bad, Neil. Dwayne Marcus is absolutely ridiculous. Of course, the Jets are a playoff team because of the 3 teams he listed. The Chargers will be forever infected with the Phillip Rivers virus. Down 3. Length of the field to go. A minute left with no timeouts is on the tombstone of the Los Angeles Chargers, period. I don't care who's the quarterback. It don't matter. That's 1. Then he listed the Baltimore Ravens. If Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. If Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. If Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. Let me ask you something. Since it's MVP year, has Lamar Jackson been healthy?
No.
Listen, you fool me once, shame on me. You keep getting injured year after year, shame on you. Then he said the Denver goddamn Broncos.
I have no faith in the Broncos. I don't.
So if you would have given me any other AFC team that has made marginal, right? I would have taken the Houston Texans with the first pick. I would have taken the Browns. You could have talked me into
the Browns are on the list as well.
You could have talked me into Deshaun Watson taking a step. He took 2 years off. We're shitting on him because he's a fucking scumbag. But it's fair for him to have, after taking 2 years off of football, to take a year to get, especially when he was suspended for half of it, to get his legs back. To expect him to come back into form was unrealistic. But nobody gives a shit because he's a scumbag. But I do expect Deshaun Watson at the age of 25 with a full off season, the whole season to play. I expect him to be better, and I expect that Browns team to be better. I would have taken any of the teams at top of the draft, right? Colts, or who have still a tremendous defense, who have a top 3 pick or top 4 pick, which could be a top 2 pick if they decide to trade up and get CJ Stroud, and or Bryce Young, depending on who the first team, whoever the Carolina Panthers select. So Carolina has the first pick, right? They're the ones that traded with Chicago. Yeah. So I would have taken that, but yeah, I will never have faith in Lamar Jackson, only because I've been talking shit about him since the MVP year. I've been right about him. Hey, you got to give me 3 years. They gave him that MVP, and it's been downhill ever since. The Chargers are the Chargers. Who's the best team in the NFC North now? Who's the best quarterback in the NFC North, matter of fact?
The best quarterback in the NFC North by default is
now that Rodgers is gone. Kirk Cousins.
Because Justin Fields, he's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
He still leaves a lot to be desired as it pertains to throwing the football. He can throw the football, but he still does leave a lot to be desired as far as throwing the football. And I do think that they will start to tap into that more now that he has a legit number one receiver in DJ Moore. And I think that by the end of this season, we could have a different conversation. And despite how well that Jared Goff has been playing in his, what is it now, been 2 years in Detroit, he's not better than Kirk Cousins yet. So it's Kirk Cousins by default.
Yeah.
Because he has the experience and because he's not a bad quarterback when you put the Vikings on a game slot when there's 6 or 7 other teams playing and it's not all eyes on the Vikings. Then
okay, I just wanted to double check my bias because I'm a big fan of the.
It's Kirk. So. Kirk was the second best quarterback in the division anyway, regardless of what was happening. So obviously he bumps up to the top, but I don't think they're going to win the division.
Damian Woody, stop eating the pudding pops. All right, the Buffalo Bills are still the number 1 team in the AFC East. Enough with your nonsense. All right, this guy, fucking idiot. This guy talking all this shit just because Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I get that you were a former Jet, so you're going to big up your team, but let's relax a little bit. All right, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Bert, give me the one guy throughout these playoffs. And don't give me no New York Rangers out here. All right?
No, fuck okay? No. I mean, there were a couple on the list, but. Yeah. Don't get me started. So listen, there was 2 that came to mind, and it's probably not a lot, of who people were thinking, or maybe it was. So look, I was honestly going between Mitch Marner, the Toronto Maple Leafs, or Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. And here's why I'm going with Leon Draisaitl is because, Jerm, you say this all the time. If you watch the game from game 1 of this series in Edmonton, which has been honestly one of the most physical, hard-fought series in a first round I think I've ever seen between the Kings and the Oilers. Draisaitl has found his way to open ice. He's made the plays when it's mattered. He's put the puck in the back of the net. His point total through 5 games is 10, 6 of those being goals, 4 assists, ±3, which is good. But overall, just to watch like him play the game, even in losses, like just leave it all out there. I honestly think he's been the most impactful player in the playoffs so far. And I wouldn't be surprised, like if Edmonton ends up winning out, that they certainly make it to the cup. That team is dangerous, and we know how dangerous Connor McDavid can be. But the fact that he's got the likes of a Draisaitl right next to him who can help carry that too is just all the better.
Dwayne Marcus, in the NBA, who has been the best player in these NBA playoffs?
Similar to like what Bert was saying with the NHL, I think it's between 2 players. When you look at what Jimmy is doing, especially when you look at what he did, the backpack job he posted the other day. So far in the series, in that series against the Bucks, he's averaged like 37, 6 and 5. He's shooting 63, 53, and 74. Those numbers are insane. He's like he's one of very few or the only person in NBA history to average 37 on 63% shooting the way that he has been. But I do think that Steph's been the best player in the playoffs. And I think he's the only one that really has an argument over Jimmy to be the best player in the playoffs. Like I know that AD is leading all players in blocks and rebounds, but he hasn't really been. He's had some rough games. LeBron's LeBron, but he hasn't been the best player in the playoffs either. And I said this on my show on Monday with JT, this version of Steph, the version of Steph that we're seeing now, the 35-year-old Steph that's doing what he's doing. He's shooting almost 50, 40, 90. He's at 49, 40, 95. He's averaging 32 points a game. I do think that this version of Steph is better than the 2-time MVP, the 2-time back-to-back MVP Steph. And I think the reason why is because the one thing that I think we were always missing from Steph's career to this point, and it's not that he wasn't doing it or wasn't capable of doing it, but Steph over the last 2 or 3 years has that control over a game, the way that you talk, like the way that we talk about LeBron, the way that we talk about KD, the way that you hear a lot of people talk about Jordan, like the ability Kobe to just flip the switch and put the backpack on. Like, and for a large part of Steph's career, he didn't have to do that. One, because the team was built so well around him, where like they were so dominant. They were very rarely in situations where he needed to kind of have that Superman effort. And then, of course, he had the 2 years, the 3 years with KD. But Steph Steph this season, when I've looked at what he's done in the playoffs this year, we talk a lot about what LeBron does at the age that he's at. Steph's 35, and he's playing very high level, efficient basketball. Like I said, averaging 30 on almost 50, 40, 90. I cannot look at Steph Curry. I don't think Steph's had a bad game. Like, has he had bad shooting splits? Well, when you're shooting 49, 40, and 95, you have to say no, he hasn't had bad shooting splits because he's been super efficient and he's getting everyone involved. Jimmy, I think the beautiful thing with Jimmy is that we know that this is what Jimmy can do. Jimmy does this all the time. Since Jimmy's been in the playoffs, like he's proven consistently that when it's time for him to perform in the playoffs, he does just that. But Jimmy is doing that more so because he has to, because the guys around him that are supposed to step up, they don't step up consistently. Like Bam, like Kyle Lowry, like Tyler Hero. Like they're not always consistent. And so he has to put the backpack on. Steph Curry has gotten to a point in his career where he can control a game and ultimately a series just by being him. And you can always tell after that, those first couple of shots, like I said on Monday, those first couple of shots, you can tell what kind of game Steph is going to have. I think Steph's been the best player in the playoffs. The only person that comes close is Jimmy. I think it's a 1A, 1B situation. I don't think there's anyone else in the conversation other than those two.
I heard you, Dwayne, and there is somebody in the conversation. All right. And I love you, but I hate to tell you. Well, no, I actually love to tell you that you're wrong.
I know you do. I know you do.
You're wrong. You're dead wrong. The best player, Jimmy Butler, had the best playoff performance.
Sure.
That 56-point game was amazing. However, that was one game. He's been good. If you look at his stats for the first round, they're average, comparable to what he's done all season. Nothing great, what a star player probably should be doing. The best player in these playoffs, Dwayne Marcus, Bert, is the Phoenix Suns guard Devin Booker.
That's not
another.
I thought we were going
another 40-point performance the other night. But his first round series, gentlemen, averaging 37 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals with Kevin Durant on the team, gentlemen.
Well, Jimmy's doing that by himself.
He's doing okay. He had one game that he
had 37, 6, and 5.
Because he had a 56-point game. There's one game that raised his average. Devin Booker.
I'll give you that.
Devin Booker is consistently been great in the playoffs. Now he has a genuine, and I hate to say it like this, number 2, but he has another guy that can help him. CP3 is a good leader, but he's past his. Yeah, Dwayne Marcus don't like CP3. I don't like CP3's face. I get it. Something about his face, man. He just looks like one of those guys. You know, he's like the short guy in the posse in high school that really shouldn't be hanging around everybody, but he thinks he's bigger than he is or better than he is because he hangs around the cool kids. So he instigates and talks all the shit, but then lets his friends do all the fighting. And you know, he just looks like one of those guys. I don't like that. I don't like Chris Paul. I don't like State Farm either. They fucked my mother-in-law over. So fuck State Farm. Fuck Cliff Paul too. But Devin Booker, I mean, again, just watching the games. Again, Jimmy Butler, that playoff performance is one of the greatest I've seen. I can't remember another playoff performance outside of maybe LeBron's first Cavs run against Detroit, where he went 21 of 29 or something ridiculous, or he went like 27 of 29, but he had 25 straight points. Like that was an amazing, an amazing accomplishment and feat. But Devin Booker, the Phoenix Suns, when that thing gets going, they haven't played that many games together because Kevin Durant had that injury. But when they get that thing going, they're a hard team to beat. It took everything in my soul, gentlemen, not to pick Joel Embiid, your MVP for the regular season. I'm just waiting. I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for, man. I don't care about Paulo Banchero in the Orlando Magic Rookie of the Year. I don't even think there's any other rookies that are playing. Oh, by the way, I meant to bring this up during the Aaron Rodgers conversation. Do you know who the longest tenured quarterback is in the NFL? Dakota Prescott is the longest tenured active starting quarterback, which is sad. Yeah,
he's
sad.
the only he was drafted, 7 years ago now?
Yeah,
that's been on the Cowboys long. He's been on the Cowboys for 7 years.
That's fucking nuts.
No one else in the league has been on their team more.
It's a wild stat. All right, let's play some fair or foul and let's get the fuck out of here. Gentlemen, Bert, start with you. Oakland is the worst sports city of all time.
Yeah, I mean, when your teams are literally ignoring the pleas and the tax breaks and the money to build new stadiums where you are and going to Vegas, something's wrong. So yeah, and I feel bad. Look, anytime a team or teams move, I feel bad for the fans in those areas. But man, Oakland, you had a long time to get your shit together and you did not. So yes, that is the worst place.
Oakland lost the Warriors.
Yep.
The Athletics, and they lost the Raiders in a span of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was crying because St. Louis lost the Rams. Mm-hmm. And they're still crying to this day, to the point where they were excited about the XFL team coming back. That's a nuts stat. Neil says, I seen that's crazy. I didn't think he was there that long. It's not even the fact that he was there that long, like 7 years, and you're the longest tenured quarterback. Like that that to me, that's just the changing of.
Yeah, it's the state of the league right now. Yeah,
state of the league, right? We, the Eli's, the Bens, the Phillips, all the, Tom Payton, like these guys, these franchise quarterbacks. Now it's the new guy's turn, right? Yeah. Hopefully, obviously Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow are starting that off. Probably Justin Herbert, probably Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. Which brings me to the next fair or foul. Lamar Jackson will be traded draft night, which is this is a Wednesday. Tomorrow, I believe, is the first round of the draft, right, on Thursday. So by tomorrow night, Lamar Jackson will be traded. Fair or foul?
Who's this for, Marcus?
Whoever, just somebody throw it out there.
Marcus, go ahead.
I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because you would have to think that the Ravens bringing in OBJ is like their last plea to Lamar. Mm-hmm. Because Lamar wants to play with OBJ, so you'd like to think that that's the final plea.
Obviously, that's a week ago. Like, what the fuck?
It was. Also, Jalen Hurts just getting paid doesn't help anything. Granted, it wasn't a guaranteed contract, so maybe it does help a little bit for the Ravens. But gun to my head, I'm going to say no. Because when I think about the quarterbacks that would likely draft, the teams that would likely draft a quarterback, I don't know if they would be willing to give up what would be what a Lamar trade package would demand on draft night to get him. And I don't know if the Ravens are. I don't think the Ravens want to blow it up. They are dead set on making sure that Lamar Jackson is still a Raven come hell or high water. So I don't think so. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I don't think so.
It's definitely foul. It's not going to happen. And there's not and Marcus, that last bit was perfect. There's not another team that's going to want to give up anything for him, but more importantly, pay him what he was asking or damn near close to what he was asking after he has been hurt ever since his MVP season. And they won't, he'll obviously want a paycheck before, like, do the Russell Wilson thing. I want my money before I even give you an on-field product. And all those teams are going to say, no, thank you. Aside the fact that, there are certain things like bringing OBJ to Baltimore, which is one thing that he wanted, which should have been somewhat of a peace offering to work on a contract a little bit more. And there's rumors out there he also wanted D-Hop out there too. And if that's the case, he knows he's going to have to take less money because you're paying these individuals to come support you. So absolutely foul. He's not going anywhere.
I am going to say fair.
Weird.
I'm going to say fair for one reason, because if it was that simple, it'd be, what's the holdup? Like, you're either going to take the money or you're not. What contract? Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a couple dollars here? You got OBJ. What else do you want? They paid him $18 million. What do you want? And I honestly think, with reports that the 49ers kicked the tires, quote unquote, there's so many opportunities for the Ravens to get better. The Falcons could trade the 8th overall pick. The Colts could trade the 4th overall pick. They can get a young player and have, what they need, and get a haul. The Ravens can get a haul to build a team. I don't think OBJ is enough for that team. And so you don't want to pay Lamar anyway. That's obviously clear. So why would you pay him now just because OBJ is here? I think the Ravens are waiting for draft night to see if a team is going to offer them the world. And I think a team will do it because they're looking at the state of the quarterbacks. They can't make up their mind on who, after Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, who's going to be that guy? People are trying to talk themselves into Anthony Richardson. History tells us that more than half of these guys are going to suck. Like, I know every year we go through this rigmarole with the draft to talk ourselves into certain players, and literally half of them suck, and the other half end up in the XFL. And then there's maybe 3 or 4 guys that actually matter. And so not all the quarterbacks are going to make it. Look at all the hoopla we made about Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield and all like these guys. We don't know. Nobody knows. You know what you do know? You know Lamar Jackson's good. And if you are the Colts or the Falcons or one of these top 10 teams with a pick, you don't know anything other than the fact that I can't get the number 1 pick. I know Bryce Young's the best quarterback of the bunch. And maybe if I throw in some extra stuff, I can get Lamar Jackson and solve my quarterback problem. And I think getting OBJ was more of, OBJ took the money. I'm not looking for $20 million, but he took 18. Yeah. So it's like, I think the OBJ Lamar thing has been overstated a little bit. And if it was that big of a deal for them, this would have been done shortly after OBJ signed. So I think the Ravens are waiting for a haul, and I think they're going to get it. Fair or foul? Last one, because we already did the Dylan Brooks fucking. Oh no, there's 2 more. Will Levis will be the second quarterback selected in the draft. His odds went from 60-1 when this whole draft process started. Now he's 4-1 to go number 1. He went from 60-1 to 4-1 to go number 1. I don't think he's going to go number 1, but do you think, guys, fair or foul, Will Levis out of Kentucky, out of nowhere, will be the second quarterback selected in the draft?
I'm still going to go foul. I don't see it. Not the second one, right? If you would have told me 4, maybe, but not 2.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think DeMeco Ryans wants someone like a Stroud or a Bryce Young, the mobility that they bring to the table along with the arm strength. Will Levis has a strong arm, but he does not have the mobility that I think a DeMeco Ryans would like to have under center. So I'm going to say foul also.
I'm also going to say foul too. The only reason I brought it up is because his odds from going from 60-1 to 4-1 to go number 1 overall, something is happening, right? You read the pulse. Vegas always knows somebody's talking. And Vegas doesn't just pull this shit out of their ass. They know people in the know, and something is happening in the NFL behind the scenes with this draft process. I've seen a lot of up and down on Anthony Richardson. I personally like Anthony Richardson. DeMeco Ryans probably can't afford to gamble here. I think I would take it. I think I would take a chance because I think Anthony Richardson's overall versatility and potential may be the greatest. If you can't get a Bryce Young. CJ Stroud is good, but I think he's one of those guys where we've seen the best. He reminds me a lot of Malik Willis. We all talked ourselves into Malik Willis, and he's just not that good. I see a lot of that in CJ Stroud. So Will Levis, we'll see. Richardson is better than Levis. Hey, Josh Allen, people hated that the Bills traded up for Josh Allen. And Baker Mayfield and Josh Rosen and all these guys are better than Josh Allen. And now look, he's top 3 quarterback in the league. So I don't like to judge guys off the NFL. I know that's all we can do. We can only look at what they do in college, but I try to look at potential versus the ability to grow. Like you have to have the tools first. And I'm always going to pick the most versatile tool in the toolbox and then see if I can work with that. Something's happening with Will Levis. That's all I'm going to say about that. Last one, fair or foul. We spoke about it early at the open of the show, how JJ Redick nuked the first take desk when Stephen A. Smith said that the Clippers should force Kawhi Leonard to retire. However, I'm not saying he should be forced. He should, if he feels like he should play, he should play. But guys, I believe Kawhi Leonard's career is over. He tore his meniscus again. An injury that kept him out all of last season. And now it's probably going to keep him all out of next season as well. So, gentlemen, Dwayne Marcus, I'll start with you. Fair or foul, Kawhi Leonard's career is donezo.
I so desperately want to say foul. But I can't.
Yeah, because we tell the truth on this podcast. Go ahead.
And it's not because he's a bad player, and it's not because It is like the best ability is availability. And no one thinks that Kawhi has been faking these injuries over the past couple of years. No one thinks that. Like, obviously, Stephen A. clearly thinks that. But other than him, no one thinks that. But we've gotten to a point with Kawhi, unfortunately, where his dissension upon the LA Clippers was supposed to elevate them from the little brother status that we were talking about earlier, and the little brother status that JJ Redick alluded to this morning on First Take. And he hasn't done that. He hasn't. The one time the Clippers made it to the conference finals, Kawhi didn't play basketball that series. So, like, that is where we are at, unfortunately, with Kawhi. And it's unfortunate because from a talent standpoint, he's one of the greatest two-way players the game has ever seen. And his resume speaks for himself. He is a Hall of Famer, and that's all great. But the past couple of years have not been friendly to Kawhi as far as the health thing is concerned. And unfortunately, the load managing clearly isn't helping. The whole reason why people were defending the whole man with Kawhi was because he was being healthy for the playoffs. Well, since he's been in LA, he's still been low managing just as much as ever, if not more than ever, and he's still getting hurt. And it's an unfortunate reality for Kawhi. I don't know. I agree with you, Jerm. I don't know if we see Kawhi play ball next season. Kawhi's in his 30s. I don't know where he's at in his 30s, but he's in his 30s. So he's already not having that much time ahead of him anyway. All these injuries stacking up on each other doesn't help. And this is the same knee that he had the torn ACL in where he missed last season, like you said. So it's the same knee injury. It's the knee that's always been bothering him. You combine that with the fact that of his age and the fact that his better days are behind him. It's tough, to think that a team would want to trade or sign him in free agency. And I don't know if the Clippers would want to re-up on his contract after it expires because of how much time he's missed. Now, if he ends up being able to be healthy and there's a way they can do that, then that's different. But I'm going to say fair. It's unfortunate because when he plays basketball, he's one of the best basketball players on the planet. He just unfortunately has not been able to play basketball at a high level enough. And
Bert, should a guy who tore his meniscus twice in 2 years be continuing his career as an NBA player?
I mean, after listening to Dwayne Marcus, no. And look, don't get me wrong, you've had a good career, but entering late in, and again, hey, listen, not a basketball guy here, but you're getting up there age-wise. Do you still have it in you to go down that long road of recovery? I mean, a lot of these athletes that end up doing it are on teams that certainly do have a chance to finish. And do you think that's going to be the case for him? And if not, I understand for the love of the game, but I just don't think we're there.
Let me tell you, since 2020, because Kendrick Perkins, God bless his soul, thousands of people laid off at ESPN this past week, and somehow he still made the cut. Still allowed to give sports takes on ESPN TV. Said he wants to give Steve Ballmer, the Clippers, Kawhi, and Paul George, who also was injured again in the playoffs and missed, basically the whole playoffs. Wants to give them one more year to see if they can do it. 2020, they all came together, Bert. What'd they do in the first year they were together in the playoffs? They blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the bubble. 2021. All right, it was the bubble. Nobody counts the bubble ring.
Mm-hmm.
Let's run it back next year, free of COVID, people in the stands, whatever. What'd they do? They lost to the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. Hey, you got to the Western Conference Finals, but you lost to the Suns. All right, we'll follow that up. What'd you do in 2022? Oh, you missed the playoffs. Oh, completely. Not even the play-in when they gave us 2 extra fucking playoff teams. And then this year, you're out of the first round. You really need to see more, Clippers fans, Paul George fans, Kawhi Leonard fans. You need to see more of that? Nah, enough of it. Paul George, nobody wants to see your paper knees in the NBA no more. I don't care about talent. Again, like Dwayne Marcus said, the best ability is availability. You're holding that city hostage. They're going to build it there, which is nuts. That team is leaving Staples Center, or it's not even called Staples Center, whatever it's called now. They're going to Inglewood. They're building you a $1 billion stadium arena for you guys. And this is what you're delivering. What a sad state of affairs. Matter of fact, move back to Oakland. Go give Oakland a new basketball team. The Clippers, that's what you should do. Leave LA. You don't even deserve it. You don't even deserve LA. All right, Bert, do you have a game ball you want to give out?
I do. And I didn't talk to Rangers at all. But I do have to give props to Christopher James Kreider, who in game 1 last week scored to be now the Rangers all-time goals leader in the playoffs, which is a huge accomplishment. Series tied 2-2 against the Devils. Play tomorrow night in New Jersey, so I'm hoping he can continue to play well and the Rangers come away with a win and force or go into game 6 with a lead. But Chris Kreider gets my game ball or game puck.
Dwayne Marcus?
My game ball goes to Paul Levesque. We got a new world championship on Raw. It looks good.
There you go. Hey, well, I mean, so what are they going to have? 3 titles? Or you think they're just going to get rid of the Universal title?
Here's my conspiracy, and here's an exclusive decision I made today out of necessity. Backlash is next Saturday. The person I usually do my wrestling reviews with, he's going to Ireland with his girlfriend. For the first 3 of the podcast, I'm doing a live show by myself. That is now I have a massive attention problem and I can ramble. So hopefully it doesn't go off the rails. I'm gonna put myself through boot camp and make sure that happens. But my theory is that because Cody only wants to be the WWE champion, that's kind of what his whole thing was coming back. When he beats Roman at SummerSlam, they're going to vacate. He's going to vacate the Universal Championship, and it's going to be no more.
Gotcha. I think so too. I think they're gonna do one of those combination things, but then just
the Universal Championship didn't really hit the ground running the way they was supposed to because Finn Balor was the first champion, and then his shoulder got popped out in a freak accident in the match against Seth. So the Universal Championship never really had a solid prestige. There's been a lot of controversy with a lot of matches that have happened with the Universal Championship. It's time to get rid of it. I'm glad they brought the big gold back. They had.
I don't like this new one though. I don't like it's too middle part. It's too gaudy. I don't like it.
So the middle part in the beginning did kind of throw me off with the TV lighting, but like when I looked at a picture of it, like just what it looks like as a picture, it does look okay. I understand why, because every belt everywhere has a fat logo in the middle of it for the company that it's in. It's just because it's a big gold belt, people are like, oh, that sucks. But they had to come with a new one because technically the big gold belt is a part of the WWE Championship because they were unified back in 2014 at TLC with Cena and Orton.
And they got to sell toys and merchandise. So
it's a $500 belt. They're going to sell a bunch of them.
They're going to sell a bunch of them. My game ball goes to, I can't believe I'm saying this, guys. The New York Knicks. Oh my God.
Ooh.
They finally advanced. They beat, they upset the Cleveland Cavaliers in advance of their
third time this century. They've made it out of the first round.
First time since 2013. I got to give them props, man. It's a big accomplishment for, the NBA world is better when the Lakers and the Knicks are good. I know that's an old cliche, but it's true. When the Knicks are playing well, because it is New York City is the mecca of basketball. When the Knicks are relevant, it makes things better. So shout out to them. Also, additional game ball. I can't believe I'm saying this also, guys. Fox News. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Fascist News Network did something right. Firing Tucker Carlson. Thank God. That bow tie wearing freak probably jerks off with Icy Hot, loser. Tucker Carlson. Enjoy unemployment, you bum. I'm sure you're going to land on Twitter or Trump's Truth Social or wherever the fuck you want to go and spat all your nonsense, but you're not going to be doing it on network television anymore. So maybe you'll do your new show, Tucker Carlson Tonight in Hell. And when you get there, say hello to our brawls for us.